This backyard steel flywheel stores electricity as pure spinning motion, cycles daily for 25 years, and loses zero capacity the entire time. It carries no fire risk at all, something no lithium wall battery on Earth can promise. Yet despite the fact that utilities and hospitals have trusted flywheel storage for decades, you have never been offered one for your home. The system is called the Torus Nova Spin, and it is built right here in Utah. By the end, you'll know what it is, how it works, and what it saves you. Let's dive in. Right now, if you have a home battery system or you are shopping for one, there is a very good chance someone is trying to sell you a lithium iron phosphate wall unit. The popular ones run between $10,000 and $16,000 installed. That includes the Tesla Powerwall 3 at roughly $11,500 before installation labor, the Enphase IQ5P at around $9,000 for the battery alone, and the Franklin WH at roughly $12,000. Every single one is built on the same lithium chemistry. The sales pitch sounds great. Store your solar, use it at night, ride through blackouts. But the pitch leaves out numbers that matter. Lithium iron phosphate cells lose somewhere between 20 and 30% of their rated capacity by year 10. That is not a lab worst case. It is what manufacturers themselves publish in warranty fine print. A 13.5 kilowatt-hour Powerwall does not hold 13.5 kilowatt-hours a decade later. It holds roughly 9.5 to 10.5. You paid full price. You got a decade of slow shrinkage. And you may still owe money on the loan if you financed it. By year 12 or 13, most lithium wall units are at the ragged edge of useful life. Some owners replace them, some reconnect to the grid and absorb the loss. Either way, the battery won. You lost. Here is the number almost nobody talks about. Lithium batteries have a finite number of full charge and discharge cycles. Most residential lithium iron phosphate units are warrantied for 4,000 to 6,000 cycles. At one cycle per day, that is roughly 11 to 16 years before the warranty math runs out. But that warranty typically only guarantees 70% of original capacity at end of term. Even inside the warranty window, your storage is shrinking year after year. That is not a defect, it is electrochemistry. Every time lithium ions shuttle between the anode and cathode, microscopic damage accumulates. The solid electrolyte interface layer thickens. Internal resistance climbs, dendrites form, capacity fades. No firmware update reverses chemistry. And then there is the fire question. Lithium battery fires in well-manufactured residential units are uncommon, but they are not zero. The Consumer Product Safety Commission has tracked thermal runaway events in home energy storage installations. When lithium cells fail catastrophically, they can exceed 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit in seconds. Fire departments across the country now carry specific protocols for lithium battery fires because water alone does not suppress them. Insurance companies have noticed too. Some carriers have added exclusions or premium surcharges for homes with large lithium installations in attached garages. You are paying more to insure a battery that is already losing capacity every single day you own it. Meanwhile, in utility-scale power management, a completely different storage technology has been running for decades with none of these problems. And when you see what it costs per cycle over its real lifespan, you will understand why it should have been offered to homeowners years ago. The technology is a flywheel. The physics behind it is so straightforward, it almost feels like cheating. A flywheel stores energy as rotational kinetic energy. In plain terms, it stores electricity by spinning a heavy object very fast. When you push electricity into a flywheel system, a motor spins a steel rotor up to operating speed. The energy is now held as motion. When you want electricity back, you slow the rotor through a generator, and that motion converts back into current. There is no chemical reaction. Nothing is consumed. Nothing degrades at the molecular level. The rotor just spins. Think of it like a potter's wheel. You kick the wheel to build speed. As long as it spins, it holds energy. Press clay against it, and the wheel slows, transferring that energy into useful work. A flywheel battery works the same way, except the wheel is machined from high-strength steel. It spins inside a near-perfect vacuum to eliminate air resistance, and it rides on magnetic bearings, so there is almost no friction at all. The vacuum is critical. Air drag is the enemy of a spinning mass. At the rotational speeds these devices reach, often above 20,000 revolutions per minute, atmospheric air would bleed the stored energy away in minutes. Remove the air and seal the chamber, and that rotor keeps spinning with losses so small they are difficult to measure. The magnetic bearings matter just as much. Conventional bearings involve metal-on-metal contact. Contact means friction. Friction means heat and wear. Magnetic bearings levitate the rotor on electromagnetic fields. The spinning mass floats. It never touches a solid surface. Nothing wears. Nothing needs lubricant. Nothing generates frictional heat. The kinetic energy formula tells you exactly how much energy the rotor holds. It equals 1/2 times the moment of inertia times the angular velocity squared. That squared term is the leverage. Double the spin speed, and you quadruple the stored energy. This is why flywheel designers chase higher rotational speeds rather than heavier rotors. The Torus Nova Spin uses a steel rotor in a sealed vacuum enclosure with magnetic bearing suspension. The company rates it for daily cycling over 25 years. That is over 9,000 cycles, with virtually zero degradation. Not 70% capacity at end of life, not 80. Virtually 100% of original rated capacity, cycle after cycle, year after year, decade after decade. Now, if you are thinking that sounds too good to be true, the Department of Energy thought the same thing and funded testing through Sandia National Laboratories and the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. What they confirmed across 2 decades of study is that flywheel systems in utility applications routinely exceed 100,000 full cycles without measurable capacity loss. Steel does not forget its shape. A vacuum does not wear out. Magnetic fields do not fatigue. The only moving part is the rotor itself, and it never contacts another surface. Compare that to lithium, where every single cycle permanently alters the electrode microstructure. Cathodes crack, anodes grow dendrites, electrolyte oxidizes. Those changes are permanent, cumulative, and irreversible. A flywheel has no electrolyte, no cathode, no anode, and no dendrites. The round-trip efficiency of a well-designed flywheel runs between 85 and 90%. Lithium iron phosphate typically delivers 87 to 92%. The flywheel trades a small efficiency margin for something lithium can never offer: zero degradation over its entire operating life. And because there is no combustible chemistry inside the enclosure, the fire risk is not low, it is zero. A steel rotor spinning in a vacuum contains nothing that can ignite. There is no thermal runaway pathway, no gas venting, no chain reaction, nothing for a fire department to worry about. The idea of storing energy in a spinning mass is not new. It is older than the electrical grid itself. James Watt bolted flywheels to his steam engines in the 1770s to smooth out the power stroke between piston cycles. Every internal combustion engine ever manufactured has a flywheel on the crankshaft for the same reason. But the modern electrical flywheel, the kind that stores and returns grid-quality alternating current, traces back to work done at the University of Texas at Austin in the 1970s. Researchers in the Center for Electromechanics there developed composite and steel rotors for pulse power applications, systems that needed enormous bursts of electricity delivered in fractions of a second. By the late 1990s, a company called Beacon Power in Tyngsboro, Massachusetts, began commercializing flywheel arrays for grid frequency regulation. Their first large plant, commissioned in 2011 in Stephentown, New York, used 200 individual flywheel modules to provide 20 megawatts of frequency regulation to the New York Independent System Operator. That facility is still running today. It responds to grid frequency deviations in less than 4 seconds, faster than any natural gas peaker plant, and faster than most lithium installations. Utilities trust it because the physics is transparent. There is no proprietary cell chemistry. There is a spinning rotor, a motor generator, and a vacuum chamber. The engineering is mechanical, not electrochemical. And yet, For decades of proven utility operation, nobody shrank flywheel storage to house scale and sold it to homeowners. The Torus Nova Spin represents the first credible residential product to bridge that gap. And the fact that it is manufactured in the United States, in Utah, makes the absence of federal incentive support even more difficult to defend. The utility track record runs deep. Beacon Power's Stephentown plant has logged over 13 years of continuous grid service. Each of its 200 flywheel units cycles dozens of times per day, every day, absorbing and injecting power to keep grid frequency locked at 60 Hz. Capacity has not degraded. Beacon Power built a second facility in Hazel Township, Pennsylvania, delivering another 20 megawatts of regulation. Both plants operate without the thermal management nightmares that plague large lithium installations. There is no liquid cooling loop keeping cells inside a narrow temperature band. There is no battery management system watching for cell imbalance. The flywheel does not care whether it is -10 degrees or 115 degrees outside. At commercial scale, companies like Amber Kinetics in Union City, California, have deployed 4-hour duration flywheel systems for longer discharge applications. Their steel flywheels, each weighing several thousand pounds, are installed in sites across the Pacific Islands and in Southeast Asia, proving the technology in tropical heat and remote conditions that would stress lithium chemistry. Now bring that performance down to your backyard. The Torus Nova Spin is designed to sit outdoors, beside your garage or on a side yard, with a physical footprint roughly the size of a large residential air conditioning condenser. It connects to your home electrical panel the same way a lithium wall battery would. Charge it from solar during the day. Draw from it after sunset. Use it as emergency backup during grid outages. But unlike the lithium wall unit silently losing a fraction of its capacity every cycle, the Nova Spin delivers the same rated output on day 1 and on day 9,000. Torus has published preliminary pricing that places the unit between $12,000 and $15,000 before installation, putting it squarely in the same sticker price range as a Powerwall 3 or a comparable N-phase stack. But sticker price is not the right comparison. The real metric is cost per kilowatt-hour per cycle over the full life of the system. A lithium wall battery that costs $14,000, delivers 10 usable kilowatt-hours, survives 5,000 cycles to 70% capacity, and then requires full replacement, has a dramatically higher lifetime cost than a flywheel at the same upfront price that lasts 9,000 plus cycles at full capacity. And this is the part where you start to realize how much you have been overpaying for storage that was always designed to be replaced. If the physics is proven, the hardware exists, the pricing is competitive, and the fire risk is zero, why is there not a flywheel beside every garage in America right now? The answer is entirely structural. The federal investment tax credit under Section 48E currently allows a 30% credit on qualified residential energy storage. That credit is the reason a $15,000 Powerwall feels like a $10,500 purchase. But the credit was written around electrochemical batteries. The certification requirements, the interconnection standards, and the qualifying equipment definitions all assume a battery with cells, a battery management system, and a UL 9540 listing. UL 9540 is the safety standard for energy storage systems installed in residential and commercial settings. It was developed with lithium-ion and lead-acid chemistry as the reference designs. A flywheel is not a chemical battery. Its failure modes are completely different. Its thermal profile is completely different. Its degradation mode, which is effectively non-existent, does not map to any test protocol in the standard. Getting a flywheel certified under a framework built for chemical batteries is like getting a sailboat rated under powerboat engine emission standards. The testing categories do not apply. This is not a paperwork inconvenience. Without UL 9540 listing, most building departments will not issue the electrical permit required for a residential storage installation. Without the permit, You cannot legally connect the system to your panel. Without legal interconnection, you cannot claim the ITC. Without the credit, the Flywheel costs 30% more than the competing lithium product at the exact moment the customer compares quotes. The certification bottleneck creates a price penalty precisely when it does the most damage, and the lithium industry has zero incentive to lobby for revised standards that would let a zero-degradation competitor into the market. Why would they? The current rules lock out the only technology that never needs a replacement sale. There is also the installer ecosystem problem. More than 10,000 solar and battery installers in the United States are trained, certified, and tooled exclusively for lithium chemistry. They stock lithium inventory. Their monitoring software is built for lithium battery management. Their warranty structures assume lithium cycle life and degradation curves. Adding a Flywheel product means retraining crews, rewriting warranties, and reconfiguring software. No installer absorbs that cost voluntarily, while lithium units are still selling at healthy margins. And the mortgage appraisal system compounds the disadvantage. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac appraisal guidelines have a recognized category for solar panels and increasingly for paired battery storage. No such category exists for mechanical energy storage. A Flywheel in your yard adds zero recognized value to your home at appraisal. The structural barriers are not a conspiracy. They are a market architecture designed around one technology. Everything outside that architecture is invisible to the financing, permitting, and incentive systems. And you are the one paying the cost of that invisibility. Now, if you are thinking this is just a startup making promises it cannot keep, the Oak Ridge National Laboratory published a technical assessment of Flywheel energy storage systems in 2022. Their conclusion was that sub-residential and residential scale flywheels are mechanically viable, and that the primary barriers to adoption are regulatory and financial, not technical. The technology is not waiting for a scientific breakthrough. It is waiting for the rules to catch up. If you want to pursue Flywheel storage for your home, here is what the practical path looks like today. The Torus Nova Spin is the leading residential scale product in development. The company is headquartered in Utah and is targeting initial deployments in states with favorable interconnection policies, including Texas, Arizona, and Nevada. You can contact them through their website for pricing updates, production timelines, and site assessments. The unit requires a poured concrete pad, similar to what you would prepare for a large air conditioner condenser. Target pad dimensions are roughly 3 feet by 3 feet, poured 4 inches thick. If you hire a local contractor, expect to pay $200 to $400, depending on your region. If you pour it yourself, a 60-pound bag of Quikrete Ready Mix costs about $6.50 at Home Depot, and you will need 12 to 15 bags. Total self-pour materials run under $100. You will need a 200-amp main panel or a dedicated sub-panel for the storage interconnection. The wiring complexity is comparable to a Powerwall installation. Any licensed electrician experienced with solar battery hookups can handle it. If you are pairing the Flywheel with a solar array, you need a hybrid inverter that accepts non-lithium storage inputs. The SolArc 15K is one of the few hybrid inverters on the US market, designed to manage multiple storage types. It runs between $3,500 and $4,200 at current retail pricing from distributors like Signature Solar. The Victron Multi+ 2 is another compatible option at roughly $2,800 for the 5,000-volt amp model. Both can manage solar input and Flywheel charge and discharge without proprietary battery communication protocols. One important warning: do not install any energy storage system without pulling the required electrical permits in your jurisdiction. Unpermitted electrical work can void your homeowner's insurance entirely, create personal liability exposure in the event of any fire, regardless of cause, and in at least 14 states, it is classified as a misdemeanor offense. The work itself is not complex, but the legal protection of a permit is not optional. Most documented residential storage installs, whether lithium or mechanical, are completed in a single day once the mounting pad or wall bracket is in place. You should also understand the net metering angle. In states where net metering has been gutted, like California under its NEM 3 tariff that slashed export credits by roughly 75%, on-site storage becomes far more valuable. You cannot profitably send excess solar to the grid anymore. You need to store it and consume it yourself. A flywheel that holds full capacity for 25 years becomes dramatically more valuable in a net metering hostile state than a lithium battery that is fading at the same rate net metering incentives are vanishing. That is a financial calculation most solar installers will never run for you because they do not carry a product that benefits from it. There are real limitations you should understand before committing. First, the Torus Nova Spin is not yet available at mass retail scale. Initial production runs are limited, and early deployments are being targeted at specific regions. You may face a meaningful wait for delivery. Second, flywheel systems have higher standby losses than lithium. A fully charged lithium battery sitting idle loses less than 2% per month. A flywheel in a vacuum with magnetic bearings still experiences small rotational friction losses that are higher than lithium's static self-discharge. For daily cycling applications, where you charge each morning and discharge each evening, this difference is negligible. But if you want to charge a system and leave it untouched for 2 weeks, lithium retains more energy. Flywheels are optimized for frequent cycling, not long-duration static storage. Third, the ITC credit gap is real. Until certification standards are updated, you pay full price without the 30% federal credit. On a $15,000 system, that is $4,500 you cannot recover. Fourth, energy density by volume is lower than lithium. The flywheel unit occupies more physical space for the same kilowatt-hour rating. If your property is a tight urban lot with no room for an outdoor unit the size of a large air conditioner, this may not be practical. So here is the comparison stripped to its numbers. A lithium wall battery runs $10,000 to $16,000, delivers 10 to 13 kilowatt-hours, fades to 70% capacity by year 10, carries a fire risk your insurer has already priced into your premium, and needs complete replacement somewhere around year 12 to 15. A Torus Nova Spin flywheel targets the same price range, delivers comparable kilowatt hours, maintains virtually 100% capacity for 25 years of daily cycling, carries zero fire risk, and never needs cell replacement because there are no cells. Over 25 years, the lithium path demands 2 full battery purchases. The flywheel demands 1. That Beacon power plant in Steventown has cycled its 200 flywheels more than 10 times per day, every single day, for over 13 years straight, with no measurable capacity loss. No lithium installation anywhere on the planet can make that statement, and the only reason you have not been offered this option is that the certification framework was written for the chemistry that wears out and needs to be bought again. So that is the choice. Pay once for a steel rotor that never degrades, or pay twice for lithium cells that start dying the day you plug them in. If you want to power, heat, and cool your home off-grid, the Passive House files show you how. Full plans, exact materials, and the honest numbers nobody else gives you. It's not too late to start lowering your bill. Scan the QR code and see for yourself. So here's my question for you. If you had the budget for one storage system and the space to put it, would you choose the flywheel that lasts 25 years at full capacity but gets no tax credit? Or the lithium wall that fades every year but qualifies for 30% off on day one? Drop your answer in the comments because I genuinely want to see which way this audience leans. Subscribing and sharing is the single best way to help this information reach the people who can actually use it. Next time, we are looking at a compressed air storage system that fits inside a standard shipping container and could make rural off-grid electricity cheaper than anyone expected. You are not going to want to miss that one.